Hey guys, I wanted to make a video today talking about stoicism. So, I think today in our society we we very much have a huge problem with things like mental illness and emotional problems, trauma, you know, um, depression, anxiety, things like that. And like I said, mental illnesses. And this is especially a huge problem for men. If you look at the statistics, men are more likely to suffer from mental illnesses than women, depression and anxiety and things like that. And um, it's really bad, and it's just getting worse. Now, uh, in our society today, we often we rely a lot on medication to kind of help with our anxiety and our depression and our problems and our emotional problems and things like that. And medication is just a band-aid. It's just something temporary that temporarily sedates us, and it doesn't cure. There's no permanent cure for a lot of our emotional trauma, most of it, and our anxiety. And many people live with it for the rest of their lives. And our society just can't figure out, how to deal with it. And it's just getting worse and worse. And I think that there is an answer, and that there is a cure, and the cure is stoicism. Stoicism is the cure for depression and anxiety, and any depression and anxiety you may be experiencing, or me. Now, a lot in our society today, especially with manosphere content and red pill content, and a lot of the content that has risen up to um, teach you what masculinity is. Sometimes stoicism is mentioned as one of those important qualities and personality traits of masculinity. But one of the problems is that I don't think people truly know what stoicism is, because if they did, I think they would not really agree with it. When you look up the word stoicism, or being stoic, the word, it simply means to, in the dictionary, in Webster's dictionary, it means to endure hardship without showing feeling or complaining. It's it's basically being passive, is the idea, or carefree. And it really means that you really don't have any emotions, really. It's it's the idea of not it's not just the idea of not showing emotions, it's the idea of not having them. And many people may think that there's something wrong with that, and that we should have emotions and we should have feelings and things like that. But as men, maybe women, sure, but men, I don't think that feelings are a good thing. Now, unfortunately, we all have them, but um, there needs to be a way we can kind of condition ourselves out of being emotional, and act upon pure reason and logic, and be driven by pure reason and logic like men should. Men should not be driven by emotions or feelings, but simply by pure reason. And that should drive our decision making, not our feelings. I think that the reason why men are so emotional, and men suffer from depression and anxiety so much, um, is because of social conditioning. And social conditioning is the process by which individuals are kind of trained to think, feel, and behave in a certain way uh, that's consistent with societal expectations or whatever. And uh, that comes, again, the social conditioning affects our thinking and our feeling. Social conditioning is so powerful that it's able to rewire our very psychology so that we think and feel in a very certain way, so that we have feelings. You can condition people out of that. And this might be a controversial take, but mention I have feelings. Now, I know you might be thinking that will make us psychopaths. I mean, we'll be psychopathic without feelings. No, not if we have knowledge and we have wisdom and we are driven by pure reason and um, logic, like men are supposed to. We won't be psychopathic. We won't do things that are necessarily psychopathic, but we will be able to deal with um, more emotionally challenging things. I think it's important that men are not able to experience things like shame or guilt or fear or even love, like emotional love. I'm not saying I don't think men should treat people good. I'm saying that they shouldn't. The feeling is different than the act, and I don't think that it's good to feel love for a man. I don't think it's good that a man can feel love. I don't think he needs it. I don't think we need these feelings as much as society tells us. Especially things like sympathy and jealousy and all this stuff. We don't need things like that as men. If we are driven by reason and logic, we will still make good decisions that are best for society and best for our families. We won't destroy things, and we will stop experience and we will experience virtually no anxiety and depression. Just think about when you think about war. When men go to war and they kill people, in uh, the war and the war on terror. There were a lot of men who came back from the war on terror who had in every war really, that's fine, but let's use the war on terror, who came back with PTSD, and they were suffering from, depression because of all the guilt that they experienced and the trauma they experienced. Sometimes a lot of these men had to kill children because these, the obviously terrorists would strap children up with bombs, and these men had to take them out sometimes, and they had to kill children sometimes, and obviously that's gonna mess you up. Imagine if men were not able to experience guilt. Their PTSD wouldn't be a problem when we send them to war and send them back. I don't think the answer is to say, "Oh, we shouldn't kill, you know, children who are trying to kill us and our soldiers." No, the answer is we should try to find a way to make it so that men are more stoic, so that they don't experience that guilt. That will deal with the PTSD. They wouldn't come back with PTSD. They wouldn't come back with so many mental health problems. You see, the fact that we're able to feel is why we suffer from so much depression and anxiety. That's the reason. Like it's because we're able to feel all this shame and guilt and love and fear and sympathy and jealousy. These things are not, and even anger, you know. Imagine if men were able to be more stoic with regard to anger. They would commit less murders, you know, out of anger or rage, and it wouldn't make them worse people. It would make them better people. It would make them more self-controlled emotionally. It would make them, um, they would suffer from virtually no mental illnesses, no depression, and no anxiety, and you know, and things like that. Stoicism isn't, just pretending like you're not feeling anything. I don't think men should express their feelings. I don't. But I also don't think men should have feelings but hide them. I don't think men should hide them either. I just don't think men should have them. Okay. It will deal with a lot of problems that men are facing today in our society. I'm telling you, it would virtually eradicate suicide among men, depression, anxiety, murder, unjust murder and killing, um, all these other things. If men are taught and are given the capacity to think rationally and reasonably better, and to use their rationale better, and to act by pure reason, they're not gonna act like crazy psychopaths. They're gonna act rationally, okay? Regardless of the fact that they can't feel. We can't feel. That's what Stoicism is. It's a philosophy that teaches that we should be guided by reason and logic and not by feelings or emotions, and that we should be impassive. Just like God. God is impassive. There's an actual doctrine in Christianity called impassibility, the impassibility of God, and it's the idea that he cannot experience passions. Okay, that God can't experience passions. He can't experience emotions. God is stoic. So obviously, if God is stoic, then we should be as well as men. You know, it's sort of it allows men to be carefree and not let anything bother them, which is a good thing, and to act on reason alone. That sounds good to me. And so the solution to male depression, anxiety, and mental illness, and the solution to how do we decrease the murder rate among men. Men commit the highest percentage of murders in our society. We know that, more than women. How do we decrease that? How do we decrease the percentage of grape? I say grape, I don't want to say the RAPE word, because you're on YouTube, so trying to be careful. But how do you decrease that among men? It's stoicism. That's the answer. Society has to condition men to be stoic. Social conditioning can literally rewire our psychology so that we are conditioned to be stoic and emotionless. But we need to balance that out with logic and reason, and imbuing men with a good imbuing men with knowledge and wisdom, the knowledge and wisdom to live a life that is beneficial to themselves and beneficial to others, to where they know how, and not just not acting like wild, unfeeling beasts, but acting according to our logic and reason. That's the answer. And medications aren't helping us. They're just band-aids on a wound that never heals. That's all we're doing. Medications are temporary. They just sedate us, and they're temporary. But if we teach men to be stoic, more stoic, we would not need medications. And it would decrease suicide, murder, rape. It would decrease, if men go to war, any guilt that they would accumulate, that they would otherwise accumulate from war. It would make men better. It would not make men worse. It would not make them these evil, psychopathic, like, the idea in our, I think this idea that emotions are a good thing, it's just bullcrap. At least it is for men. I think for women, they can be a good thing. But for men, feelings are not a good thing. Men are not supposed to be feeling. They're not supposed to have emotions. It's not good. It doesn't help them, because if they express their emotions, people don't like them, especially women. They use them against them. But if they hide them, they suffer in silence. So there's a third option, there's a third solution that nobody thinks of, and it's just get rid of them, okay? And our society tells us, especially religion, I think it's mostly religion's fault, especially Christianity, that feelings are good. We should have feelings, we should have emotions and all this other stuff. We should feel, and it's just bullcrap. You know, it's another lie that we're told by our society, that feelings are a good thing, and for men and all this other stuff, and we need to cry and express our feelings and talk about our emotions and all this other stuff. It's like, no. Okay, feelings are not a good thing for men. It's a lie that our society tells us, and we need to start understanding that, and understanding that there is a solution to a lot of the male issues. I talked about, you know, the male loneliness epidemic. Like, why does that exist? Well, because of male phylogeny. You know, and you know how men are so docile and feminine and passive. You know, why do men suffer from mental illness and suicide, depression, anxiety? Well, because they're not stoic enough. You know, the cure to all of men's problems in our society is just masculinity. It's just cultivating masculinity. That's the answer. Masculinity is the answer. It's not, you gotta make more money, you gotta get in the gym and work out. You can do those things, but that's not the answer. Okay, the answer is not, oh, you gotta get married and have kids. You know, that's how you fulfill your role as a man in society. But no, that's not the answer. It's cultivating masculinity. And this is not just a personality. It's literally, it goes down to your very emotions and your feelings and your thinking and your behavior, and it changes you as a person. It affects your whole being as a man, your identity. And it's the answer to all your problems. It really is. My goal is to hopefully affect that change and create a society where men are empowered, and that we learn to cultivate masculinity, because that's the answer to all our problems. It really is. So so think about this and understand there is a cure, there is a solution. We just need to implement it. So like this video, subscribe, comment below if you want me to talk about anything. If there's anything you want me to talk about, please leave a comment below and let me know. And share this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.